The cryptocurrency space has had a phenomenal November. The election resulted in the Republicans taking the White House, the Senate, and the House. And that administration's really going to be for crypto. In fact, the new president may create a cryptocurrency for his businesses, which is interesting. Overall, Bitcoin just really rallied. So did Coinbase and Ethereum. We're seeing a small pullback this week, and I'm looking at potentially buying into this pullback. I've been investing in crypto for a little while, since 2018. I've been very careful in my investments. Like many, I don't quite understand everything about cryptocurrencies, but generally, I do agree with the principle of why a digital currency makes a lot of sense. If you think about the world we live in, we're in a fully connected world through the internet. Everyone has at least a couple of computing devices. If you consider your smartphone, your home computer, you might even have a business computer. I mean, we have computing ability all over the place. Yet we still depend on a currency, a fiat currency that was created thousands of years ago, at least the concept. The currency for the United States, of course, was created a couple hundred years ago. Now, as I think about the space, I want to be a part of it, but I want to be careful. Most of my investments are in real estate, in stocks, and bonds, but you cannot really ignore the returns on these currencies. Bitcoin, as an example, for the past year is up 149%. That is incredible. For the last 5 years, it's up 1,132%. That's Bitcoin. Now, why is Bitcoin interesting and interesting to me? Bitcoin is a store of value, a lot like gold, where gold is a precious metal. People buy it because they know that if I buy an ounce of gold today, I could probably sell it for a lot more in 10 years. I can probably stay ahead of inflation and store some of my wealth in gold. It's the same concept for Bitcoin, except it's a digital coin. It could be sent around the world very easily. It is a part of the new economy. It started, I believe, in 2008 by somebody who was really frustrated with the whole meltdown that occurred at that time. He felt that the governments were just too involved in economies and wanted to establish a coin that was free of direct government influence. And he pulled it off. He created Bitcoin, and that created a whole new space, which has been really interesting to watch. Now, Bitcoin, I think, is here to stay. It really makes a lot of sense. It's going to be a store of value. It's the original coin, and it's a coin that I continue to accumulate. My investing in Bitcoin is careful. I started buying back in 2018, and literally, I was putting in $100 at a time. And that's a very small investment. But again, I wanted to learn in 2018. And over time, I've increased it. I probably put maybe a couple of $1,000s a year into Bitcoin. And I may be buying some coins this week. And the reason for it is there's a lot of things that are going to help Bitcoin rise in value. I think it's really caught a lot of attention. Needless to say, the rally has really opened the eyes of many. We have ETFs that have Bitcoin. And with the new administration, I think you're going to see a lot of more volumes for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just going to be part of more investing ideas. So I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm going to be buying a little bit more, probably put $500 into Bitcoin sometime today and let that ride for a while before I make another purchase. In addition to Bitcoin, I also own Ethereum, which is, and I'm going to use my own words. If I was with a cryptocurrency expert, they'd probably correct me here or there. So I apologize in advance. I'm going to use my terms. Ether is a second generation Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And it provides new advances, maybe making the second generation better than the first. Bitcoin was the original. I think it's the way it's supposed to be. But I think there was some things to be desired, and the marketplace wanted a second coin. And Ether's certainly that coin. I've been buying into Ethereum as well over time, and it's done really well. In 1 year, it's up 61%, and over 5 years, It's up 2,110%. So just a phenomenal return on Ether. It also provides an opportunity to stake your Ethereum coins and earn a staking, call it a dividend or an interest rate. Take your pick. So I'm going to buy a little more Ethereum as well. It's good to accumulate this coin for me as well. And I think it's really going to be more used and a great example for the cryptocurrency industry. The third investment that I hold, and I'm going to get into more in a free cash flow, discounted free cash flow model, is Coinbase. And Coinbase today is having a pullback, but over the 1 year, it's up 153%. Over 5 years, here's what's interesting is they IPO'd and they came in at a time when, Bitcoin was really high, and they have not gotten back to their IPO price. And they haven't gotten back to their all-time high. I didn't buy Coinbase in this era. I don't buy IPOs typically. I don't think I've ever bought an IPO just because you tend to see this situation quite often, which is it has a pretty strong sell-off. Companies come in, they're not quite making as much profit as people thought. Free cash flows aren't there. So I started buying Coinbase around this era and really loaded up, believing that, hey, this is the one publicly traded cryptocurrency brokerage company that I want to be an investor in. And it's really been a good investment for me. So I accumulated Coinbase stock and have held it. I've also bought over time, but have been very careful because it's really rallied. If you look at from the very bottom to where it's at now, it's up 815%. So it's been a really nice run to own Coinbase. And I bought carefully over time. Now, what do I like about Coinbase right now from a high level, macro level, is Coinbase has really had the most credibility in the marketplace. I can't think of another brokerage that does crypto that has more credibility, more trust by investors. Coinbase is number one. There's others that are doing quite well, like crypto.com as an example, but they're not publicly traded. They're not as well known as Coinbase, in my opinion. Coinbase does generate profits and free cash flows. So I'm going to show that to you in a second and show you how I can really do get a value for Coinbase and show you where that's landing. Overall, Coinbase with the new administration, I expect is going to do quite well. There is somewhat of a rumor out there that the CEO of Coinbase may join the Trump administration as a crypto czar. And that would most definitely help the space. And that would certainly help Coinbase. We'll see if that happens. Nonetheless, Coinbase, as well as other crypto companies, have really supported politicians. They pretty much supported them and are now going to have influence into that administration. So overall, I just think with the new administration, it's going to help Coinbase and they're going to do quite well. Now, I believe that Coinbase is being sold at a premium of 12% if you look at their stock. Now, it's being sold at a premium because the stock's gone up really fast in price, but it is a very valuable company. If you look at the free cash flows they're generating, if you look at the earnings per share they're going to generate as well. Let me take you through how I created a valuation for Coinbase and the basis of where I think the company is valued. So first, I think that it's special that Coinbase generates free cash flows so early in their history. Businesses that generate free cash early in their growth cycle are special. These are companies like Google Alphabet. These are Microsoft's. And Coinbase is right there with them. They are generating free cash flow, and I think that is great. I'm going to grow free cash flows in the first 4 years by 25%. I'm going to use the trailing 12 months and start that as a starting point, add 25%, and then have a forecast of free cash flows that I expect in the first 4 years. And then after that, I'm going to grow free cash flows by 5%. I'm going to discount those cash flows by 9%, which is higher than what I would use for, let's say, a Google Alphabet, which would be 7.5, or a Microsoft 7.5, because there's a higher risk. Coinbase is in an industry that's new. Maybe they see something or they experience something that's negative and could hurt the company. There's just more risk involved. So I want a higher rate of return. When I look at all those cash flows, discount them by 9%, I get to 75 billion. I add cash on the balance sheet and take away debt, and I get to $79.5 billion of value in those free cash flows. Their market cap's about 77 billion. So there's about a 4% discount. If we just look at the free cash flows Coinbase is going to generate, discount them by 9%, that's what I get. I would say fairly priced. The earnings per share is not supporting the stock price. The best I can do there is the earnings per share expected for 2025 is $3.64. And I give them a very high PE because they're growing. They're in an exciting space. I would not be surprised if in a couple of years from now, Coinbase is twice as big when you look at the revenue line. That type of growth is special. So, but the best I can do is get to about a 43% premium because the stock price has just gone up so much. When I blend the two, putting more weight in the free cash flow method, I get to a 12% premium. And that's just the reality. This business is moving up so fast that it's hard to really rationalize the valuation of it. But having said that, I'm still considering buying Coinbase at this point and taking advantage of this pullback. I just think that the story for Coinbase is going to be very positive for the next 4 years. And right now might be a good time to buy a few more shares, considering that I've bought shares for a while now and I dollar cost average into my investments. I do believe in Coinbase. I think the business is going to be, just bigger, better, more important, more influential, more powerful in the future. And I'd like to get further into the company at this point. Now, I've talked about three different investment types that are very well known. Now, let me talk about a very small cap that maybe you haven't heard of, which is Bit Digital, symbol BTBT. And they're doing great this year. They're up 73%. But you can see that they've had a lot of volatility, principally because they're a small cap. Second is they're currently taking their business, which is historically, they're a Bitcoin miner. They also stake Ethereum. And that's been their business for a long time. They established a lot of expertise on running GPUs, which are used to mine Bitcoin. And now GPUs are being used to build out AI, large language models, and so forth. And they have now diversified and started businesses in the hyperscaler business to help in the AI space. I think their expertise with GPUs is helping them offer up services, GPU as a service services to companies that want to build out AI. I think it's a great idea, a lot of potential. So let's take a look at where I value Bit Digital. So Bit Digital is a really small company. It's a small cap, and they are generating free cash flows. So I'm able to value the company based on free cash flows. That is always a good sign that a company has a business that generates profits and free cash flow. I'm also going to establish a forecast and grow their cash flows quite aggressively because that's what they're doing. They're growing their cash flow quite well. Their expertise really shows up in the fact that they can get so much cash down to the bottom line. I'm going to grow long term by 5%. I'm going to take their cash flow based on the cash they produce as well as the digital assets mined, which is something that you got to really examine the free cash flow statement and treat this company fairly, because if I didn't, the way generally accepted accounting principles would treat it, it would actually underrepresent that number. And I'm going to discount those free cash flows and digital assets mined by 12%, very high discount rate, because this is a riskier investment. It's a smaller company. A lot of things can come into the picture and hurt them like a big competitor. So I want a higher rate of return. When I use that discount rate, I get to an intrinsic value of $620 million. They have cash on the balance sheet and no debt. So when I add that cash, I get to $843 million. The market cap's 656. So it offers a nice discount of 41% when I look at free cash flows. Earnings per share expected to rise nicely, giving them a PE of 24, and they're going to grow really fast. So the earnings per share actually look great at 78%. If the AI area continues to expand as fast as it's expanding, Bit Digital is going to do great. If there's a fade in the AI space, it's going to slow down growth there, but they still have the Bitcoin mining business, which they're being compensated really well right now with, cryptocurrencies being so expensive. So overall, these are really good numbers. It has a 54% discount using a very high discount rate. So this one is going to be a buy for me, especially on a pullback today where we're seeing, Bit Digital being sold off by more than 5% on their stock price. It's a really good opportunity for me to reestablish a position in Bitcoin, Bit Digital, which currently is not an investment that I've made. So if you've watched my videos, you've seen me talk about desirability of businesses. How desirable are they? And in this case here, I wanted to kind of give you my sense of each one of these four investment ideas and how desirable I believe they are. Starting with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the real McCoy, the original, and it's very desirable. It's very scarce. And I would say number two is Coinbase. It's probably the biggest name in crypto from a brokerage and financial services industry. It's very rare. And you look at their valuation, it just keeps going up. And I think that Coinbase could be just a huge, monstrous financial services company at some point. Very different. Coinbase is not like any other brokerage company out there. They have a very strong moat in both their brand, their ability to manage all these digital currencies, their ability to see new business opportunities and continue to grow the business. So I really like them and put them squarely in the green of my desirability quadrants. Ethereum is right there, probably a little less desirable than Bitcoin, but it's also going to be a very important coin that's going to hold its value quite well. Then Bit Digital is a little bit in the gray because it has competition in Bitcoin mining. They have other competitors in hyperscaler services for GPUs. They also have competition, but they operate really well. And they're a small business. It's really well run, no debt. So I like them. I do think that their specialization and being in the right market at the right time puts them in the green partially, and then partially in the gray since they do have competition. Overall, I think all these four investing ideas are unique, desirable, and I would like to be an investor. Just looking at performance, Bitcoin in my portfolio has been just a big winner. My investment's up 247%. My original investment of $34,000 and a dollar cost averaged into that investment is now worth $118,000. So I don't have to completely understand every aspect of a company or an investment. I have to believe in the general story of a company, understand that I'm buying at a good time, and then invest. Here, Ethereum, I've invested about $21,000 and that investment's worth about 50,000 and it's up 134%. So these have been good investments. My investment in Coinbase is also doing quite well. I'm up almost 200% on Coinbase stock. So that's been, a really nice part of my portfolio. These are smaller values compared to, let's say, my investment in Meta is over 200,000. I have more stock in Google than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin would be number three. It's the third biggest investment per asset item that I have on my portfolio. And it's gotten there because it's accelerated its value on its own that much. And it's probably yielding one of the best, if not the best, rate of return in my portfolio from a percentage perspective. So, in conclusion, I'm very bullish in the cryptocurrency space and will continue to dollar cost average into the space. I think the space is going to continue to expand, become more valuable, and reward me over time. There is going to be a lot of volatility. Cryptocurrencies are not for investors that just want smooth upward appreciation, but over time, they have really proven themselves to be a big value generator for me. Now, keep in mind, I'm just an investor. I'm just sharing my experience with you, and hopefully you find it interesting. I'm not recommending you buy any of the investments that I talked about, and I hope that you carefully weigh all your investing decisions. With that, let me wish you the best of success in investing, and I really appreciate you watching.